On the news tonight, appeal court reserves judgment in Nnamdi Kanu's suit challenging charges against him. Presidency isn't turn by turn, Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi tells Tinubu. And INEC removes 1.1 million Nigerians from voter register a few months before 2023 elections. Many thanks for joining us on News Now. I am Folashade Ogurinde. The Court of Appeal in Abuja Division has reserved its judgment on an appeal filed by the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu. Kanu seeks that the Justice Jumai Hanatu-led panel strike out the terrorism and treasonable felony charges preferred against him by the federal government. Kanu, through his team of lawyers led by Mark Ezokame, prayed the appellate court to review the April 8 ruling of the Federal High Court in Abuja, which struck out only 8 out of the 15 charges. The counsel argued that the remaining charges are defective and baseless.
The truth is that the lower court tried in striking out 8 out of the 15 amended count charge. But the lower court fell far short in not striking out the remaining 7, which have no business being in the charge sheet. All the 7 remaining counts are watery, prima facie, they are dead on arrival. So by the grace of God, this is a case where the justice of the matter points in the direction that the remaining 7 counts charge still pending against Nnamdi Kanu before the lower court, Justice Bintanyako, will be struck out by this Court of Appeal. And Nnamdi Kanu, after the long walk, will walk into freedom.
This trial is baseless. Baseless in the sense we are looking at the end result of Buhari's wickedness. But we're not looking at the foundation, the quest for justice, for people to be treated fairly. When this whole thing started, there was nothing involved in armed struggle or insecurity. People were just asking for justice. Is it right to stay in the country that 80% of appointment goes to one section of the country? Is it right? These were the issues that led to this agitation. And what we had expected from the government was to address those grievances. Just to address it. Are you saying our people don't have a right to complain? Are you saying that the government that we pay tax to is not supposed to address those grievances? I pray that the president should see reason that the only way to resolve this is to go back to the political negotiation table. And I'm also confident with what we saw in court today that this thing has nothing inside it and the court is going to throw it away.
President Muhammadu Buhari has commended Governor Hope Uzodinma for his efforts towards the development of critical infrastructure in the state. President Buhari made this known when he performed the inauguration of projects as part of his one-day working visit to the state, the second since September 2021. Buhari inaugurated the refurbished Imo House of Assembly complex, the recently rehabilitated 36 kilometers dualized Owerri-Olu Road, as well as the first phase of the 52 kilometers dualized Owerri-Okigwe Road. He added that despite heightened insecurity, his administration has been able to achieve major infrastructural developments in the country.
Between 1999 and 2015, when we came in, I like people to check the central bank and NNPC. The average production was 2.1 million barrels a day. Average production, 2.1 million barrels a day. At the average cost of $100 American per barrel. So Nigeria was earning for that time 2.1 million times 100 times the number of days in those years. But look at the state of the infrastructure. Look at the railway, it was virtually killed. Power, we are still struggling. But when we came, it was an unfortunate incident. The militants in the south were unleashed. Production went down to 500,000 barrels a day. But look at the problem in the northeast. Check with anybody from Borno or Adama, how many local governments were in the hands of the government then? They were in the hands of so-called Boko Haram, bloody, fraudulent people, whoever they are. They are fraudulent. But now, go and ask the hard-working governor of Borno State, very hard-working governor. Federal government is still there in charge now.
For your timely, prompt, and fatherly intervention through the security agencies, Imo State would have been overrun by bandits and hoodlums. You have also demonstrated your love for Ndi Igbo through the completion of the Second River Niger Bridge, a project that has been on the bucket list of Ndi Igbo for decades. This is a project that previous administrations paid lip service to.
And now to politics. Presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, says Nigerians will elect a leader that they trust, as it is not the turn of anyone to govern the country. Speaking at a retreat organized by Labour Party on Monday in Abuja, Obi said the 2023 elections should be based on competence. The LP presidential candidate added that it would reduce corruption by 70% if he is elected into office. He further called on all Nigerians to work together to make the country move from consumption to a productive country.
This country must move from consumption to production. Let's get the country to move. And you Labour are the ones that will determine it. Leave them with their structure. They've told you what they're stealing. We'll tell you what they're missing. I just gave you an example of what 1 month can do to solve us strike. Nigerians all over the world doing well. The only thing that is happening is that we have not determined that enough is enough. Enough is enough. Let's, for the sake of our children, go back to your house and look at your children and ask yourself, what society are we going to do for them? Election next year will not be based on ethnicity. It must not be by my turn. It's nobody's turn. Any of the primordial reasons they've used, election next year must be based, one, on character we can trust, verifiable where it's coming from. It must be based on competence, capacity, and commitment to start turning around Nigeria.
More than half of Nigerians who registered to vote in the 2023 general elections have been disqualified. In a statement, INEC Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye, explained that the 1.1 million newly registered voters were delisted for failing to meet its business rules. Specifically, the Commission said out of a total of 2,523,458 fresh registrants, only 1,126,359 records were found to be invalid and consequently delisted. Or to speak further on this, Evans Ifeli, legal expert and political commentator, joins me now. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, INEC says it delisted 1.1 million new registrants for double, multiple and ineligible registration. What do you make of this? And does this not, disenfranchise some Nigerians? I mean, 1.1 million, is that not a large number of Nigerians?
Well, INEC has taken a decision which, if you look at the Electoral Act, it's actually not covered by the Electoral Act. And institutions like INEC should not go outside the Electoral Act. First of all, if you look at Section 12, subsection 2 of the Electoral Act 2022, it clearly states that double registration, multiple registration, and all irregularities in the process of election is a contravention of the Electoral Act, and it is an offense. And then if you look at Section 12, subsection 3, it provides clearly the penalty for it. And that the penalty is that the person so caught will either pay a fine of 100,000 naira or serve a jail term of 1 year or both. Those are the penalties for non-compliance, okay? At no point did the Electoral Act says that INEC will take over and become the judge and begin to release out punishment. Because in this case now, INEC have sought out some Nigerians, tried them, conclude, and has given his judgment by removing their names. And I think it is not part of INEC role or responsibility to do that by the Electoral Act. Now, if you look at another contravention again they did is that if you look at section 9, okay, subsection 6 of the Electoral Act, it says that the update, validation of INEC register shall be done continuously, and it shall only stop 90 days to election. Do you know that as we speak, INEC had already stopped registration over a month ago, when the Electoral Act says you should only stop registration when it's 90 days to the election, so that you can have time to display all the names for correction and all that. So in as much as INEC is telling the public that the public are violating the Electoral Act, INEC itself, on the other hand, is also violating the Electoral Act. Okay, by the time you put this side by side, well, this is not in any way to make a case for those who registered twice, because it was clear in the direction that every person must register once. If you are registered before transfer,
yes, indeed. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, because I was just about to ask, as you said in the Electoral Act, are we now to wait for people to have double registrations, vote in elections, and then, you know, the courts can now mete out a judgment on these people?
Yeah, because the express mention of one thing exclude the other. The law did not say INEC should deregister or remove names, okay? All INEC ought to do is to compile the name and have them prosecuted. And then the court will take a decision on the issue. But removing their names is going outside the law, okay? And that is what I see there. And when even INEC itself consistently violated the Electoral Act, and nobody is prosecuting INEC for doing so. I am not making a case for wrongdoing, but I'm also saying that he that comes to equity must come with clean hands. The INEC ought not to have closed this registration because it is not yet 90 days to election. And with this action INEC has taken, I want to call on the federal government to direct INEC to reopen the registration for people to register properly, because it's still not 90 days to election. We still have time based on the Electoral Act. So people should not be coerced and then push here and there that the INEC will just stop registration and all that. It said 90 days, and within that 90 days, you can now have time to display the result in all the polling units, in all the wards, in all the local government, for people to come and make corrections on where there is error in the spelling of their names and all that. That is what the Electoral Act says. I've gone through the Electoral Act on registration, section 9, 10, 11, that talk about registration and register of voters and all that. There's no part in these sections that the INEC, the Electoral Act says that INEC at some point will remove names of persons who have been registered or who it deemed have registered twice. Now, how are we sure that the 1 million plus that they remove, whether they are actually people who registered twice, who did the vetting? Is there a third party? That is where the court is supposed to come in.
This is definitely a question that INEC has to give an answer to, and you've made a very, very valid point. But Evans Ufeli, it's a pity we have to end the conversation here. But thank you very much for your time and your contribution. And now to other stories. The decision by the federal government to hire private contractors to man its oil pipeline network nationwide has continued to garner criticisms from activists and stakeholders. Speaking at a news conference on Monday, Rita Lori Okpebo, a Niger Delta activist, urged the federal government to revoke the 48 billion naira pipeline surveillance contracts awarded to former Niger Delta militant leader, Government Ekpemopolo, popularly known as Tompolo. According to her, it is the responsibility of the government to manage Niger Delta affairs and not individuals or companies.
I'm crying, telling the whole world now that there's anarchy in the Niger Delta. It is more so now when a week ago or some a week ago, Tom Polo was given the contract to look after the Niger Delta. That you cannot give or hand over your responsibilities to an individual. It is the duty of the federal government to take absolute control of the Niger Delta. It is more so when the only basic product you have in this country that earns you your foreign exchange is the oil. The oil is your only product. Why can't you take control? Control of management to avoid the thieves, the stealing that is going on in the Niger Delta.
We'll take a break here, but still to come, Mali, Chad and Niger Republic indicates interest to transit cargoes through Lekki Deep Sea Port. Details of the story and more right after this break. Welcome back. Now here is a recap of some of our top stories tonight. The Court of Appeal in Abuja Division has reserved its judgment on an appeal filed by the detained leader of the Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu. Kanu seeks that the Justice Jumai Hanatu-led panel strike out the terrorism and treasonable felony charges preferred against him by the federal government. We also told you that presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, says Nigerians will elect a leader that they trust, as it is not the turn of anyone to govern the country. Speaking at a retreat organized by Labour Party on Monday in Abuja, Obi added that it would reduce corruption by 70% if elected into office. But in case you miss any of our news bulletin or for more updates, do log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube and Google Plus at TV360 Nigeria. On Facebook, we are TV360 Online. Singapore's health minister says the country will soon roll out COVID-19 vaccinations for children below 5 and plans to introduce bivalent jabs targeting both the wild-type virus and its circulating variants. The city-state boasts a high vaccination rate, with 93% of its 5.45 million population having taken 2 jabs and 80% of residents receiving a booster shot. Meanwhile, 243 people are currently hospitalized for COVID-19 as of Monday noon. COVID infections in the UK have fallen to their lowest level since October last year, the Office for National Statistics has revealed. Fewer than 1 million people had the virus in the last week of August, about 1 in 70, down from 1 in 15 in mid-July. Health experts have predicted that there will be a jump in COVID and flu infections in the run-up to this winter, and anyone who is eligible for an extra vaccine should boost their protection against both illnesses. We'll take a break here and return with more stories in business. To stay with us.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself
as the President of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On TV360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians are saying in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, and use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
TV360, dissecting the issues.
Welcome back. Well, Mary Kanana joins us for more stories and business. Over to you, Mary.
Well, thank you. Hello and welcome to Business News. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, says despite the very difficult circumstances caused by COVID-19, Nigeria's economy has continued to sustain its growth. The minister made this note when she appeared before the Senate Committee on Finance to speak at a 5-day interactive session on the 2023 to 2025 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper, while reiterating that the subsidy will remain in place until mid-2023. Ahmed said the federal government is proposing an aggregate expenditure of 19.76 trillion naira for the 2023 financial year, with a projected deficit of 11.30 trillion naira. Earlier in his opening remarks, Chairman Senate Committee on Finance Adiola Solomon decried the level of proposed deficit of the 2023 budget.
The Nigerian economy has continued to sustain its growth since the last recession in Q3 of 2020. We have witnessed so far 5 quarters of consecutive growth, with the second quarter 2022 posting a growth of 3.54% in real terms compared to 3.11% in the previous quarter of 2022. Most sectors are reporting positive growth. The broad-based growth reflects the effective implementation of the economic sustainability measures that have been carried through by this government with the support of the National Assembly. Like many other economies in the world, our economy still faces these lingering challenges of the COVID-19, as well as the higher food and fuel prices due to the Russia-Ukraine war. Nigerian government expenditure is largely funded by non-oil revenues. So for 2023, the oil revenue sources are contributing 23.6% to the government budget.
On the need to reduce government's yearly budget deficit, resulting in massive borrowing from local and international sources. It is this wise that the committee frowned at the projected 12.41 trillion budget deficit contained in the 2023-2025 MTEF FSP and the alarming projection of non-provision of Treasury-funded MD's capital project in 2023. This scenario is unacceptable, and we must find ways to drastically reduce this deficit, this humongous figure.
The Nigerian Ports Authority has disclosed that landlocked countries Chad, Mali and the Niger Republic have indicated interest in routing their cargo through Nigeria as the Lekki Deep Seaport gets set for operations from Friday, September 16, 2022. The managing director of the NPA, Mohammed Bello Koko, who disclosed this while addressing journalists, said the authority, in partnership with the Nigerian Shippers Council, are working on affordable tariffs for landlocked transit cargoes that will be imported into Nigeria when the Lekki Deep Seaport becomes operational. He added that the commencement of port operations would make Nigeria retrieve lost transit cargoes from neighboring countries. We'll take a break now and return with stock market review. Welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, undecided at intraday and surprisingly bullish at the close of trading. That's the story of the Nigeria Stock Exchange for Tuesday. It's a flip from the sentiments from the previous trading day and a win for the bull. Well, just about ₦1 billion over to the total market value. That says the all-share index stock at 0% and is still far from the 50,000 mark. Well, today's data shows 70% improvement in volume, 25% improvement in turnover, and 14% improvement in deals. Well, the natural resources and financial services sector pulled today's gains with 37 kobo. Well, market breadth closed negative, ending with 12 gainers and 16 losers. Now, it's the second trading day of the week and we've witnessed a shift thanks to the bull. We keep our fingers crossed and hope for a positive week. Got a switch now to the global scene. The FTSE and Dow Jones are not doing great as a stronger than expected US CPI figure spooked the equity markets as the central banks have raised interest rates for an extended period of time, leaving these blue chip stocks close to session lows. That's why we can see that the FTSE is trading low at 1.17%, the Dow Jones 3.78%, while Asia's Nikkei is trading up at 0.25%. Of that to stock market review, Folashade, over to you.
Well, many thanks, Mary. And on the foreign scene, William Ruto has officially been declared president of Kenya following a swearing-in ceremony which took place at the Kasarani Stadium in Kenya. It was sworn in by the Chief Judge Martha Koome on Tuesday. Amid cheers from the excited crowd, Ruto swore an oath of allegiance and for the execution of the functions of his office.
I, William Samoei Ruto, in full realization of the high calling I assume as president of Kenya of the Republic of Kenya, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Republic of Kenya, that I will obey, preserve, protect, and defend this Constitution of Kenya, as by law established, and all other laws of the Republic, and that I will protect and uphold the sovereignty, integrity, and dignity of the people of Kenya. So help me God.
Well, congratulations to the new Kenyan president. Well, up next is Entertainment Report on News Now.
Nigerian music stars Burna Boy and Tems have bagged nominations in the 17th BET Hip Hop Awards, scheduled to hold on Friday, September 30, 2022 in Atlanta, United States. Burna Boy got a nomination in the Video Director of the Year category for his self-directed music video Last. Tems, on her part, earned 3 nominations for her feature in Future's song Wait For You. The nomination list, which was released on Monday, reviewed songs in the past year in hip-hop music across 17 categories and was compiled by a voting academy of esteemed music industry insiders. Gospel singer Mercy Chinwo appears undisturbed by online criticism about publicly celebrating her joy. On their 1-month marriage anniversary, Mercy, in a post on Instagram on Monday, showered praises on her husband, Pastor Blessed Uzochikwa, adding that getting married to him was the best decision she made after salvation. Recall that after their wedding on August 13, the singer celebrated her birthday on September 5, and her husband gifted an SUV, which she posted on her social social media pages. Chinwo's post came amid criticism from a fan who claimed the singer should stop showing off her husband online. And that's all on the entertainment segment of News Now.
And in sports, two-time heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua has finally accepted to fight Tyson Fury come December 3rd in an all-English showdown taking place in Cardiff, the Welsh capital. Joshua's management discloses on Tuesday morning via the fighter's Twitter handle. Fury had issued Joshua a challenge last week, giving him 2 dates to choose for the epic showdown: November 26th at Wembley Stadium or December 3rd at Cardiff's Principality Stadium. Joshua, aged 32, suffered a second straight defeat to the Ukrainian in Saudi Arabia last month and had planned to make a relatively low-key comeback. And that's the size of our news bulletin. Many thanks for watching. I am Fola Shadi. Green Day. Bye for now.